Good afternoon, Alaska. Another report at the end of a busy week in Washington, D.C. Just wanted to give all of you kind of a quick update of some of the things that happened this week. It was a busy week. Started the week with announcement from the U.S. Supreme Court that they are once again taking the John Sturgeon case. Many of you have been following this case. It's about who actually controls waterways, state, federal issues. Very complicated case, but I got to tell you, we all should be handing it to John Sturgeon. This Alaskan started this case actually just wanting to hunt moose in our great state, and is now looks like he's going to go back to the U.S. Supreme Court twice in the last 3 years. Pretty remarkable. Stay tuned on that, but big announcement and really important case for the state of Alaska. We passed on Monday evening, the National Defense Authorization Act, and this is, of course, the annual legislation that funds the military and sets out military policy. It's written by the Armed Services Committee. I sit on that committee, so I've been very involved in this bill for months. Of course, a lot of important things in there for Alaska, given our strategic location and our military assets and personnel. In fact, in the last 3.5 years, we've had almost close to $1.4 billion of military construction secured by Senator Murkowski, Congressman Young, and myself from the NDAA and the appropriations bills. That shows you how strategic we are. Good for the country, but also, let's admit it, good for jobs and our workers in Alaska. We're going to continue that. And this NDAA bill that we just passed on Monday has a lot more in it for Alaska, missile defense, and other important areas for the national security of our country. The rest of the week, in many ways, is really focused on two areas, contentious areas, there's no doubt about it, and that is on trade and the issues relating to immigration. And I had the opportunity to go to the White House, meet with the president and some other senators on these important issues. On trade, I did raise the issue of seafood exports, and my concern about possible retaliation has been something I've been fighting to make sure we had more opportunities for exporting our incredible wild Alaskan seafood all around the world. We've gotten some laws changed to even provide more opportunities in the last couple of years. But it was an issue I raised directly with the president and his cabinet about, hey, this is multiple $billion of exports coming from Alaska, mostly overseas, and we got to make sure that those opportunities don't get closed down because of trade tensions with other countries. I'm going to keep fighting on that front, particularly given how important our coastal communities are and our men and women who are out there fishing right now as we speak. Make sure you're being safe, but we're going to keep fighting for more open markets, not less. And then, of course, the issue of immigration. And, you know, this heartbreaking topic of families being separated, my view is the default position of our federal government needs to be keeping families together. The president put a pause with regard to an executive order on this topic, but the solution here has to be more than just executive orders. Congress has been looking at this for decades. There needs to be a long-term sustainable solution with regard to our immigration system that for immigrants coming into the country, you keep the families together, but you also can't allow for a catch and release program where anyone showing up with younger family members all of a sudden gets a free pass into our country. In my view, what we need is long-term legislation. That's why this past week I co-sponsored two bills that we're hoping to get bipartisan support on that would keep families together, end catch and release, and bring more resources, judges, other resources for centers that can keep families together as their status is being determined. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more work on that. The House is literally working today on these kind of bills, and hopefully we can have a long-term, enduring, bipartisan legislative solution in the Senate. So a busy week here and then I'm going to be heading home in a little bit. Kind of a special trip back home with a special visitor, someone very important for our state and our country. So stay tuned for that one. Should be an interesting, in my view, an exciting trip to Alaska this weekend.